100 days.
100 days.
100 days.
100 days.
100 days.
This is how Trump has impacted New England.
The Trump administration has been ramping up immigration enforcement operations in New England, particularly going after and targeting people who are in the country and region unlawfully. Trump is also targeting people who are here legally under visas, particularly student visas. An example of this is the Trump administration arrest of Rumesa Osterk, a PhD student studying child development at Tufts University. The case has brought particular attention to the thousands of international students in New England who are now scared of expressing their political views for fear that their visas will also be revoked.
On the subject of tariffs, the first 100 days have been perhaps the most confusing and damaging economically to the country of almost any of Donald Trump's policies at the beginning of his administration. In New England, we're close trading partners with Canada, which has already gotten hit with some of the tariffs. We like to buy a lot of cars. Car imports in March surged to try and get ahead of the tariffs. And our life sciences industry could really take a hit if these drug tariffs come into play.
Universities have never seen anything like the first 100 days of this Trump administration. And Harvard in particular has become the epicenter of a national campaign by the Trump administration to intervene in universities' affairs. The government says that this is primarily motivated by a desire to combat anti-Semitism on university campuses. A lot of people in New England universities, including many Jewish students on university campuses here, see something different. They see what amounts to an authoritarian crackdown on independent institutions of learning that the president believes are antagonistic to his worldview.
So when we think about how much impact the anti-DEI orders are having on New England schools, to be honest, it's fairly limited right now because a bunch of stuff is still stuck in the courts. New Hampshire has signed on and said, yeah, we'll follow whatever you say, we won't do any DEI in our state. Whereas Massachusetts, for example, has stood up to the Trump administration and said pretty firmly, we don't believe that what you're trying to do here is legal, and this is up to us as a state to decide how we teach our students. Now, when it comes to transgender student athletes, the Trump administration has been working with all its levers of power to prevent those students from participating in sports. And it has really set its eyes on the state of Maine, where as recently as last week, the Justice Department has taken the momentous step of suing the state. What's at risk is all of Maine's federal funding. This is another issue that's going to be caught up in the courts for a while before we really see impact on our students.
The administration has radically reshaped how scientific and medical research is funded and even is done in this country, and particularly in New England. This region has an outsized reach when it comes to scientific and medical research. Massachusetts alone accounts for 3% of all the funding that's been cut from the National Institutes of Health. The funds cut include money that went to cancer prevention, disease tracking, treatments for substance use. The reach goes far beyond the ideological targets of this administration.
Trump's anti-green energy policies are really going to affect New England's ability to reach our net zero goals. This is a very critical decade to build out green energy infrastructure, and these policies are more than likely going to slow that down quite a bit. Multiple climate projects in Boston are in limbo or have been stopped altogether because of this funding freeze, including projects to protect the city against sea level rise and against extreme heat. Donald Trump has really focused on boosting fossil fuel production and slowing down the green energy transition.
Trump's attack on the press is having an effect on New England news organizations. Many newspapers in the region rely on the Associated Press and other wire services to bring news that they can't otherwise cover to their readers. Restricting wire services access to the White House limits the information that local readers get. The Trump administration's focus on ending federal funding for public media also affects stations in New England. Many smaller radio and TV stations in the region receive a significant amount of funding from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the organization that distributes federal funding. This could affect anyone from WBUR and GBH to smaller stations in Maine, Vermont, and Rhode Island.